I would just say there's a lot of details that we just were completely wrong on, things that we do in practice all the time that we just in the moment just completely did not do.
Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview covering VCT America Stage 2. For this occasion, I'm here accompanied once again by Zikz, the head coach for 100 Thieves, who are coming off an opening Stage 2 loss to FURIA. Zikz, thank you so much for taking the time. And like I said, just now losing to FURIA, a result that not many people have expected it to turn out. Such is the way that it did. Obligatory, usual question. How are you feeling? How are you taking in this loss?
Definitely frustrated. Um, Definitely feel like we fumbled the bag hard. I mean, I'd say this was like one of the times where I've been the most frustrated when it came to like just how we played. Um, there's just like a lot of like really simple basic mistakes that we just don't really make as a team that uh we just had today. So definitely like something I need to go back and look at and understand like why these mistakes are happening, kind of talk through it with the rest of the team, so that we can bounce back for the future. I mean, I think yeah, it's just one of those days that just doesn't go your way and it doesn't really feel like we're all on the same page. I'd say Haven Attack was the only half that felt normal. Um, and obviously, even though we were playing so bad, we easily could have won this match. Both went to OT, and we just ended up losing in both. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not ever gonna be that upset about the result overall. I'm more so focused on actually like how we're playing, because at the end of the day, I mean, and by the time that champs comes, it's going to matter the most how good we are as a team at just playing the game of Valorant, and that's like the focus. Like the wins will come themselves if we play the game well. But yeah, today we definitely did not play well.
Yeah, definitely. It was not the usual type of 100 Thieves gameplay that we've come to expect out of this squad, out of this year. I mean, you sort of touched upon a little bit on just the issues, the team experience. I mean, going a little bit deeper into that, if I may ask, what do you think this kind of not went right for the team in terms of just not performing to the usual to the usual fashion, you know?
I would just say there's a lot of details that we just were completely wrong on, things that we do in practice all the time that we just in the moment just completely did not do. Um, we definitely gave up a lot of space for free. Um, there was just a lot of things overall. I mean, even fundamentally, like Khalil was constantly like multi-fragging us until we had like proper spacing, proper entering. It just kept looking bad. It looked like we were just never going to get a trade because each person was taking individual fights rather than taking like an actual team fight. So that's why I was saying it felt like the Haven felt the most normal because Haven Attack was constantly like kind of us team fighting together and playing well off of each other. And like, I mean, I'll chalk up a lot of rounds to like maybe like different map protocols or things that we should talk about as a team, like that could have like swung rounds. But ultimately, I mean, you look at our attack on Haven, it was a 9-3 half, like 9-3, pretty solid. So a lot of it came down to just the other halves, icebox. A lot of just super uncharacteristic mistakes, people not scaling properly, people not having good fundamentals. So yeah, I mean, what it comes down to, it's a team game. We need to have better fundamentals than the other team to try to push the limits of team play versus solo play. Like obviously, what Khalil was doing to us at B on Icebox is full solo. Like you have to have confidence in yourself individually, even though it is a team game to make individual plays. But today, yeah, just the shots weren't hitting. Bad fundamentals to trade out these people doing things that they shouldn't be doing individually.
Talking a little bit into FURIA, I mean, focusing onto them. I mean, what do you think was the biggest takeaway that you saw out of them, and just this, how they perform and how they kind of countered you guys in that series, and just kind of overall difficulty that they put into you guys. Just sort of focusing on them now, you know.
It felt like they were pulling us around the map well. I mean, that's the one thing I will say. On our defense, for both maps, it felt like they were moving people around. Even though they had some simple rounds that I think we made most of the mistakes in, I'll say they did have some rounds that I genuinely thought like they were doing a lot of good shit and forcing our hand pretty much. I'll say. And then I think Khalil as well on defense icebox. You know, he's just holding it down full solo, and only until we make the adjustment in overtime do we get a kill on him. But realistically, it's like those are one of that's just one of those rounds that like we should be naturally adapting and just killing this guy anyway with our good fundamentals, but our fundamentals were just not there. So yeah, I mean, I'd still say props to them. It's not like they obviously like whenever you win, it's like one team has to play well and one team has to play kind of like bad or just one team's playing better. So they definitely played better than us today, 100%. But ultimately, I like when I'm looking at how we played, it's so hard to say for sure that like this isn't just one of the worst versions of us that we've shown on an individual day. Um, so that's kind of like more what my scope is, what I'm looking at.
Yeah, for sure. Going a little bit back onto the match, just sort of touched upon map two. Just with you guys selecting Haven, just like with the first opportunity that presented itself with the return of the map, you guys went ahead and just tried it out and just played it on that. Just want to know the thought process on just what you kind of saw within the map that gave you the confidence to say, okay, let's go for it. Let's play that map in this match and just going into that aspect.
I mean, Haven, we've been doing well against other teams in scrims, and I think that Haven is definitely one of the maps that we'll be very strong on. I was very confident coming into that match that we would, well, honestly, that we would 2-0, but that didn't happen. So, but I mean, our Haven's been looking good. We have a lot of stuff fleshed out. Our attack obviously looked very good. We were able to mid round really well on the map. We were able to kind of work them around the map. Found a lot of empty bomb sites. So I'll say definitely our Haven attack was solid. Usually our defense looks a lot better than that. But yeah, ultimately today I just think our defense was a bit too bad. We were pretty out of sync. Comms weren't where they needed to be. Just a lot of basic details, just completely off.
Yeah, for sure. Now going a little bit into a different direction from that match, just sort of touching upon how the team was moved on from Masters to the start of stage two, aka right now, and just sort of how have you guys kind of been looking at just adjusting, innovating, and just moving on from your experience in China and having to adapt and just catch up to the same speed as the other teams that have had a lot of time to kind of rest and just kind of readjust themselves. Within that same time frame. So just getting back into it, how did you kind of have the team adjust from Masters up until now in terms of just gameplay and just your read on the meta?
I mean, we definitely didn't have a lot of time to prep. I think we've had maybe about 8 days of practice, if even that. Might even be less than that. And within that, we've had to, introduce a lot of new things because obviously the meta's changed. So I won't go too into detail to give away anything, but I mean, there's just a lot of things that you have to change when a big patch like this hits. And with only 8 days or so to do it, obviously it's not going to be perfect. So we kind of have that mindset and we know it's not going to be perfect going in. We're going to have to do a little bit of it adapting. But I mean, honestly, I think, pretty classic to any team that comes back from these international stages and comes and plays like these teams that have been practicing for a long time. There will be a bit of like a regrowth period. Like we did take a few days off, like 3 or 4 days or something like that, along with some remote days because people had to go to appointments or something in where they actually live, like their hometowns. So our prep has been kind of all over the place, which it needs to be because there's so many new things to introduce. So that being said, I am very confident overall in our prep, and I think that our prep overall had no impact on our result today. if anything, it showed that our Haven can be very good as long as we, resolve our defensive half. Um, so yeah, just a lot to cram into a small amount of time for sure. But I'm definitely confident overall with the changes that we're making and with the overall direction. And today was just one of those days where we just need to really understand kind of what changed and what was off today specifically. If there was any level of like disrespecting our opponent or if people were just kind of off today and who exactly was off and in what way. There's so many things to kind of analyze in a game that you're not going to always see on the first go around. The obvious things always stick out as fundamentals because we don't get trades and uh, maybe like the overall macro, but definitely a lot that we need to look at. Um, to make sure that this doesn't happen going into the rest of our 4 matches.
So sticking a little bit into that, it's going to be the final question to ask for you. Still staying within just the meta aspect. If you can share, go a little bit into that. If not, I understand. Just sort of, what do you think is the one change that kind of you feel has made it very difficult for the team to kind of innovate and just kind of tweak their play amidst this point of the year?
I think it's more so adapting to what the other teams are doing, honestly. Like we're making changes as well, but ultimately the meta kind of on a lot of maps was double controller. It's a much like slower pace, and the execs weren't so good. Whereas now it's like everybody's playing these super exec heavy comps, like neon on every map, breach on a lot of maps. So you kind of have to like learn how to abuse it, like find the gaps or just try to bait it out so that you can retake, or there's just like a lot of things you have to do to completely change how you approach maps based on like what comp an enemy team is playing. We've seen like a lot of double senti. Obviously Turtle Troop started this ascent comp with Deadlock and Cypher, and now we're seeing it kind of all over the place. So I think it's a lot more of a adapting to what the other teams are doing in the meta, because there's a lot of funny stuff going on right now. So we just have to figure out the protocols or the way that we have to change our play to adapt to that, which we're pretty confident in. Once again, it just kind of came down to today. Today was just an off day. It is what it is. But yeah, moving forward, we just have to regroup, understand what happened and what went wrong today, and just push forward. It's our only option anyway. So got to play better Valorant if we want to win.
Exactly as you said. That's all you can do in a season like this, moving forward, and hopefully you're able to do that. Zikz, really appreciate you taking the time answering all of my questions for this quick conversation. Commiserations on loss again, but hopefully you guys can bounce back. Thank you so much for the interview, and best luck in the future.
Thank you.